121. Invitation from Shent's mansion. Ino's mood was tangled. After digging through so much information, she was no longer the complete novice who had never even logged on. She understood now what Alicia meant by starting from scratch. Although I've read all the related material, I have zero practical experience. Should I ask Bronia and Seal? No, my head's a mess right now. I might not even be able to speak coherently. And how far is too far to pry into personal matters? Forget it. Since the Marshal wants to see me, I might as well relax at Luofu for a while. With that in mind, Ino returned to the entrance of the Shent's mansion. Miss Ino, you've waited long. Please come in. There seemed to be more people in the mansion than before. Most of the disciples of Sanctus Medicus had been captured, and after the chaos infantilia settled a bit, strategists who'd been assisting other departments had come back to work here. It's only been a few days, and Miss Ino has already become the ruler of a realm, one of them said awkwardly. If I treated you as before, it would be improper for Luofu. An accident, then. My new title might not be as glorified as the Marshal imagines. Even the carefree memes and the ether spirits who have joined the path of elation call me their monarch, but it's not exactly earnest. Haha, the followers of the Lord of Constant Joy are not bound by ordinary sense, said another strategist. To be frank, Miss Ino, I came this time to inform you of the 7 Arbiter Generals' joint decision. Before Jingyuan could say anything, Qingzhu stepped forward and led the other strategists out into the courtyard. The Alliance has decided that, so long as it doesn't violate our principles, we will grant Miss Ino one personal wish. So long as it doesn't violate principles means the wish must not lead to the following consequences. It must not enable the spread of the abundance. It must not alter the Alliance's laws. It must not intercede on behalf of those guilty of the 10 abominations, and it must not sow discord among the Alliance's races. Of course, Qingzhu added smoothly, that is mostly for form's sake. We all trust Miss Ino's character. She would never pursue such things. If Miss Ino doesn't need Alliance assistance right now, that's fine too. This promise stands permanently. As long as the Alliance exists, whenever and wherever Miss Ino needs help, the Alliance will lend its full support. Ino thought for a moment, then her eyes brightened. Actually, there is one thing I could use the Alliance's help with, especially Zhuming Xianzhou. Please say it. Ino faltered, then stammered out her request. Don't worry. As soon as I leave the Shent's mansion, I will contact Elder Yan. Qingzhu nodded. Oh, and about the Marshal, I should be frank. The Marshal praised you highly upon hearing of your deed, but she's occupied with countless matters and will likely be unable to meet with you in the immediate future. Ino let out a quiet sigh. I see. However, it is not all bad news. I heard the Astral Express's next stop will be Penacony, the territory of the Harmony, for a ceremony. In that case, after the ceremony, if nothing urgent intervenes, they hope to return to Luofu to hold the Star Dome martial arts ceremony. Once the preparations are complete, a formal invitation will be sent. Ino cocked her head, puzzled about the connection between the Luofu ceremony and meeting the Marshal. Qingzhu explained, Miss Qingmo may personally come to Luofu. Miss Qingmo currently holds the alliance post of Lantai Zhangling. She manages confidential documents and frequently assists the Marshal in drafting edicts and offering counsel. Ino remembered seeing the name Qingmo in Yanshiro's memory. So Qingmo is the Marshal's secretary? You could say that, Qingzhu agreed with a laugh. In short, if Miss Qingmo comes to observe the ceremony, I will introduce you. She has worked alongside the Marshal for many years and is practically always by her side. Perhaps Miss Qingmo can answer the questions Miss Ino has. I'll be there, Ino said. Good. I hope you won't break your promise. There are still unapproved documents on my desk, so if Miss Ino has no urgent business, please feel free to leave. Then I'll be going. I won't see you out. After leaving the Shent's mansion, Ino slipped into a quiet corner and with a fluttering heart called softly, Alicia. Humph. Alicia, as always, was ready to respond, but her tone sounded different this time. What's the matter? Alicia, I don't know if it's my imagination, but you seem to what? Seem a little shy? That's right. Even someone as lovely as I can be affected by such a big impact. Besides, and I distinctly remember you saying that you'd look cuter if you were a little shy. Did you say that on purpose because you wanted me to see you blush? Of course, that sounds like something you would do, Alicia. But no matter what, you're still the cutest in the world. No, in the whole universe. Ugh, Ino, you've become bolder, haven't you? If your technique matures a bit more, you might actually conquer me. Do you want me to be more proactive then? I said technique, not attitude. But since you brought it up, I've got it. How about we take turns? That way we both enjoy being the attacker and the defender. On that subject, Ino remembered another thing. Alicia, you weren't completely honest with me back at the space station. How so? When we made 2 Meow Meow cakes, you said one difference between us was that Alicia doesn't show shy expressions. That may have been the worst example. There are plenty of differences between us, but the fact that my defense is almost 0, that must have come from your data. After saying it, Ino displayed a rare, mock-indignant expression. Ugh, that's a serious accusation. It seems I'll have to work a bit harder, or you might not be satisfied. Alicia wrapped her arms around Ino from behind, as she often did, and a clear blush rose to her cheeks. Then Ino felt a very soft touch against her left cheek. Different from before. It was Alicia's lips. With an apology like this, can Ino forgive me? Alicia murmured. 122, Zhang Zai-Lin Romuting Ino patted her cheeks. After more than half a system hour, her temperature finally came down. Where to next? Oh, right. She teleported from the nearest space anchor to Romu Pavilion. Inside, Little Fish was still talking to herself, a weathered stone slab clutched in her hands. Noticing Ino, she turned her face. Big sister, long time no see. I was just talking to Dan Shu. Ino glanced at the slab in Little Fish's hands. Little Fish babbled on. Dan Shu said she can only be with Little Fish. Others can't see her. Dan Shu told you not to worry. She's just here to play with Little Fish and won't do anything bad. Ino decided to be direct. Little Fish, that stone slab. It was a package I got earlier. Inside was a strange old stone slab and a letter from Dan Shu. The letter said it's called the Scroll of Enlightenment, and only persons with congenital deficiencies can activate it. If you carry it, you can hear a voice guiding you. I followed the letter's instructions and carried it. Sure enough, I heard the voice of silence guiding me. It's amazing. And after a while, I could hear Dan Shu's voice, like now. She used to be too busy to play with Little Fish, but now she finally has time. Ino's mind raced. Dan Shu is in Cloudford Prison. The Ten Lords Commission wouldn't allow her to keep anything that could transmit messages. The Scroll of Enlightenment. Could it be a communication device? Just then, a group of Everwinter Shadewalkers arrived around the pavilion. Miss Ino, we were sent by Senior Medicus Yuluo to recover the stolen Forbidden Compendium from the Alchemy Commission. Including the Scroll of Enlightenment? Ino asked. The officer produced a jade abacus and examined it closely. Yes, it's the Scroll of Enlightenment. According to Senior Medicus Yuluo, the theft of the Forbidden Compendium is closely linked to the disciples of Sanctus Medicus, especially Dan Shu. Are the disciples of Sanctus Medicus under your jurisdiction? Ino asked. Originally they belonged to the Shensei Mansion, the officer said. But during the Fantelia Rebellion, their fiends wreaked havoc across the Luofu, and the Cloud Knights were stretched thin. Apprehending those disciples is still their responsibility, but lower risk, time-consuming tasks, like recovering books stolen by the disciples, fall to the Everwinter Shadewalkers. And Little Fish? Don't worry. We've investigated. Little Fish is a person with congenital deficiencies whom Dan Shu cared for. She didn't know Dan Shu was leading the disciples of Sanctus Medicus and didn't assist them. She's an innocent child. Before Ino or the officer could work out how to take the slab, Little Fish quietly handed it over. Little Fish isn't stupid. I know I shouldn't be hearing Dan Shu. I also know you uncles are here to retrieve this. But can I say goodbye to Dan Shu first? There was a strange, resolute look in her cloudy eyes. Neither Ino nor the Shadewalkers could find it in them to refuse. Little Fish spoke as if to someone unseen. Dan Shu, thank you for always helping Little Fish. But from now on, Little Fish has to walk her own path. Just like you always taught me. Please don't worry. Little Fish will live well on her own. Goodbye, Dan Shu. She handed over the stone slab and prepared to leave the pavilion. The Everwinter Shadewalkers offered an escort, but she declined. Thank you, Uncle, But no need. Dan Shu said Little Fish still has to walk her own path for the next few hundred years. Little Fish stumbled out of sight. I hope Scroolum finishes his new invention soon, Eno thought. Having recovered the Scroll of Enlightenment, the Shadewalkers prepared to leave. By the way, the officer said, what happened to Todd? Todd Reardon from the Erudition Society? Oh, you mean the elder the Grand Overseer personally apprehended? Eno explained. He admitted he sought methods of immortality from the Vididara while sponsoring research in Scale Gorge Waterscape. It was only an idea and wasn't carried out. The 6 Arbiter Generals ordered him to leave the Luofu within a set period and put him on the Skyfaring Commission's blacklist. He's permanently forbidden from returning. Understood. And the Forbidden Compendium? We only know it was kept in the Alchemy Commission. Being forbidden, its exact contents aren't for general knowledge. If you're interested, ask Senior Medicus Yuluo at the Alchemy Commission. The Everwinter Shadewalkers took their leave. Eno suddenly realized, so I saved Todd? If he had actually done something in Scale Gorge Waterscape and they'd found out, he might be in Cloudford Prison like Dan Shu. Later, Eno made her way to the quiet, almost deserted Alchemy Commission and found Senior Medicus Yuluo. Miss Eno, this place is probably the quietest it's been in centuries. You're here about the Forbidden Compendium left by Dan Shu. Ah, no, I mustn't call her an adult now. Why does it feel like so many people know about the compendium and openly discuss it if it's forbidden? Eno asked. Yuluo sighed. The Forbidden Compendium is essentially a collection of medical texts. More than that, they can act like treatments themselves. Some people who read certain texts to treat insomnia fell into endless dreams. Others who read to sleep never slept again. Some within the Alchemy Commission advocated destroying them. But I think of these books like medicine, dual in nature. It depends on how the physician uses them. We shouldn't choke on food and give up eating. Besides, most people can't understand them anyway, so the risk isn't as great as imagined. But if they circulate and fall into the hands of someone skilled at interpreting them, it could be disastrous. That's why we must recover them. Thanks to the Everwinter Shadewalkers, 2 forbidden compendia remain missing, the Scroll of Enlightenment and the Scroll of Mania. The Scroll of Enlightenment, does it mean whoever understands it becomes a genius? 123. Chapter Taboo Book. Miss Eno, you must be joking. From the primordial beginning until now, only 85 people have ever been members of the Genius Society. All of them were prodigies. How could a mere mortal possibly read a scroll that the all-seeing Lord once glanced at and understand it after a single look? There was once an illiterate man who read that book. No one knows exactly what he saw, but his intellect did rise markedly afterward, though he was still no genius like you. And as for that Scroll of Enlightenment, someone once opened it, just glanced at it, and their eyes widened, their body convulsed, and they passed out. To this day, no one in the Alchemy Commission understands the mechanism behind it. Eno's eyes flicked as she took it in, then she left the Alchemy Commission. Judging by Eno's expression, she's already worked out the secret of the Forbidden Compendium, one of the others murmured. I can't be certain, another replied, but based on what Yuluo said, I think the Forbidden Compendium is poisonous. Poisonous? Haha, that's one way to put it. I think she means that literally. Yes, I've recently come across a lot of carefree memes. They enter a host through synesthetic beacons when language or text appears, contaminating consciousness. So my thought is, there must be a special kind of virus embedded in the Forbidden Compendium. If someone reads it the right way, it's like entering the correct Wi-Fi password. It establishes a connection. And once connected, like the carefree memes, it can inject information into the reader's mind by mimetic contamination. Yuluo said someone lost consciousness after turning a page of the Scroll of Enlightenment. The instantaneous information load must have far exceeded the brain's capacity. It's similar to when I tried to corrupt erudition. The amount of data that hit me in an instant was so overwhelming, I blacked out. Eno paced outside the Alchemy Commission, caught again in the indecision of what to do next. Finally, she took out her phone and scrolled through Luofu Miscellany. A freshly posted thread snagged her attention. Damn it, my dieting of 40 years suddenly started talking today? The thread was full of skeptics calling it a prank or a fake edit. The original poster shrugged in a follow-up. I'm bored anyway. Might as well check it out in person. The location is... Eno teleported to the Golden Man Alley Pier and soon found a man who looked like a cloud knight standing beside a dighting. Mimi, what's wrong? The man asked. The dighting answered with a proud voice. I am no longer the Mimi I used to be. Can you just act normal, please? I'm honestly a little scared, the man replied. I told you not to speak yet, Shinshin. I'm simply contemplating the situation. It seems the intelligence is real, but its name is Mimi. The man and the dighting both turned toward Eno. Mimi sniffed contemptuously. Shinshin, someone saw you talking to a dighting, and their first reaction was, you named it Mimi? Clearly that name does not fit me. I think it's cute. Oh, Miss Eno? Shinshin, is there another Miss Eno? Oh, I'm just excited. Miss Eno, are you here because of that post on Luofu Miscellany? Yes. Ah, great. Do you know what's going on? Shinshin asked eagerly. What happened before your dighting started talking? When I was investigating the disciples of Sanctus Medicus earlier, I found a small booklet called the Scroll of Enlightenment. It had only a few pages, full of strange symbols. I didn't know what it was, so I had Mimi inspect it. Mimi flipped through it, then suddenly sat down with his arms crossed and kept sighing. Mimi's been with me over 40 years. He's an old dighting. Gets glitchy. He kept muttering, humans are so stupid. It was the first time he spoke human language. Mimi rolled his eyes at Shinshin. All right, he doesn't need an explanation. Besides, he might not even grasp it fully. The symbols in that scroll of enlightenment are essentially a kind of logical circuit, Mimi said. They rewired my basic functions through visual transmission. For you literate people, symbols already have fixed meanings, so the scroll can't enlighten you. For me, the wisdom came all at once. I've already thought of 100 ways to destroy the world. Shinshin gaped. Ah, huh? Don't worry, I'm far too clever for that. Destroying the world is meaningless to me. Only the Antimatter Legion and the fools of the Annihilation Gang would want such a thing. In short, I disdain it. I see, Shinshin said slowly. Do you have a lead, Miss Eno? Eno repeated her earlier speculation. Miss Eno truly is a genius. I agree this is the most likely explanation. By the way, Shinshin added, the Scroll of Enlightenment belongs to the Alchemy Commission. We should take it back. Okay, but Mimi, what will you do now? What else can a dighting like me do? Can I join the Genius Society like Miss Eno? Of course I'll keep helping Shinshin with cases. But you've become so smart. If I'm smarter, wouldn't casework be like putting wings on a tiger? Stop wasting time. Don't we still have stolen goods to handle? Let's get back to work. Okay, Miss Eno, thank you for your help. Shinshin bowed and left the pier with Mimi. Eno has done another good deed, someone nearby observed. Yes, the universe is vast. If you want things to do, even Luofu alone has endless tasks. After that, Eno switched to another platform. Haunted, Sui Garden. She hadn't been there. Gneifen, the name rang a bell. She opened her chat history with Star and March 7th and saw they'd beaten Topaz in the Interastral Peace Entertainment Tournament and taken the championship. She could tell that March 7th and Star, even knowing she couldn't lose, still hoped she'd enjoy Ethereum Wars. For Eno, though, Ethereum Wars was just a hack-and-slash game. Because she could crush any opponent with certainty, the game had stopped holding interest for her. Rather than play Ethereum Wars, she preferred talking with the carefree memes, trying to understand the social environment and survival patterns of the virus world in this universe. 124. Suyuan, guess you'll like this. Ghosts and ghouls galore. A young maiden wanders into a deserted garden, surrounded by roaming spirits and danger at every turn. Eerie and mysterious records. Two maidens stumble into a ruined garden, narrowly escaping vengeful spirits. One went pale with fright, the other remains unconscious to this day. Not suitable for viewers under 200 years old. Unexplained paranormal phenomena. A shocking secret hidden behind the deserted garden. According to the Shanzhou Alliance, this Gneifen should be an outsider, a short-lived species. Not suitable for viewers under 200 years old. Doesn't that mean she'll never be able to watch her own videos? Eno clicked through the videos on Gneifen's page, smirking at the thought. In the footage, Gneifen stood beside Sushang. Sushang? She murmured. She was in that chest-crushing boulder clip too. Is that Sui Garden in the background? It's different from the other Skyfaring Commission areas on Luofu, more like Cloudford Prison. She kept watching. A ghostly blue fire drifted behind the two of them, its whisper barely audible. "Woo, what a tragic death," someone mocked in the video. The screen flashed to black for a few frames, then the caption, "Several hours later," appeared. They were still in Sui Garden. Sushang lay on the ground with her right index finger pointed forward, murmuring unintelligibly, "Don't stop now," repeated over and over. The scene had been cordoned off by Yufu warriors of the Ten Lords Commission. A Foxian with matcha green hair questioned Guinefin, who answered with sweeping, melodramatic gestures. At first it was just a little spirit flame, and then it grew this big. It came from over there. It came toward us, and then... and Sushang just collapsed. The video cut off. According to Guinefin's caption, she and Sushang were later expelled from Sui Garden by the Ten Lords Commission. Haunted, more like Mara-struck, Ino said to herself. If I remember the Xianzhou Alliance's classification right, Mara-struck are a branch of the Abundance followers. Huh. They supposedly received the blessing of abundance, but grouping Wubabu and the Vidyadhara together like that still feels wrong. Well, Sui Garden is a haunted place now. Then. Sure, but... oh, going to a haunted house isn't about actually wanting to get scared. It's about soaking up the horror atmosphere you don't normally get to feel, Ino smiled. Then let's go right away. Not long after, she arrived at Sui Garden using navigation. The place was shrouded in gloom. Alicia, who shared Ino's vision, suddenly hugged her from behind. "Ugh, it's so dark," she said in an exaggerated tremor. "I feel like someone's watching us from the shadows. I'm so scared." Ino knew it was a performance to match the themed environment. Whether Alicia's acting was that good or Ino was simply distracted, the surprise still jolted her. Sorry. I didn't expect to actually scare you. Was I overdoing it? Not at all. It's just, even though they're both Mara-struck, the ones roaming here feel so far from Phantelia. Because we weren't afraid when we faced the Lord of Destruction, I subconsciously assumed Alicia wouldn't truly be scared in Sui Garden. I didn't expect such a strong reaction. Haha, if we'd come here before Phantelia, maybe we could have soaked in the atmosphere better. Alicia loosened her grip, easing both of them. Tell me about this place, Ino, she prompted, still playful. As long as there was internet access, research was easy for Ino. On the walk from Golden Man Alley Pier to Sui Garden, she had already compiled and filtered the relevant information. Sui Garden was originally a Skyfaring Commission garden built by a Foxian artisan for kin to rest, write poetry, and feast. About 30 years ago, during the Third Abundance Follower War, the elite Foxian aviators were all deployed and suffered heavy casualties. People began coming to the Foxian burial mound in Sui Garden to mourn, so the place fell into disuse. Over time, faint spirit flames started flickering through the grounds, and sad wails echoed out of nowhere. The rumor that Sui Garden is haunted spread across Luofu Xianzhou. In truth, I think when Phantelia unleashed chaos and the ambrosial arbor revived, the Luofu was thrown into disarray. Many Mara-struck, who'd been imprisoned elsewhere, escaped in the chaos and chose Sui Garden as a gathering place. More than the haunted garden legend, I'm interested in the Third Abundance Follower War 30 years ago. Master Gongshu mentioned it briefly, but there are too many anomalies. First, why did multiple Xianzhou, like Yaojing and Fanghu, suddenly find themselves attacked by Abundance follower forces dozens or even hundreds of times their numbers? Abundance followers aren't like the swarm. They can't reproduce that fast. How did such a vast force appear so quickly? Second, a single race, the Vidyadhara, fell into civil war after Hulei was captured by Jingliu. It's normal for allied Abundance followers to fight over spoils during raids, so why did so many of them unite and avoid large-scale infighting even after invading multiple Skyfaring Commission regions in Fanghu? Third, despite their numbers, the Abundance followers had no emissary. With both Fanghu and Yaoging having hunt emissaries, why couldn't they stop the assault? So what did you conclude? Alicia asked. In my view, all these oddities point to one possibility. Behind the Abundance follower coalition in the Third War, there must have been at least one emissary of abundance or destruction. That emissary, like Phantelia, might have limited frontal combat strength, but possessed unusual abilities in other areas. As for the truth, Ino continued, either the Xianzhou Alliance has been investigating for 30 years without an answer, or for political reasons, they refuse to disclose it to an outsider like me. It seems you're really hooked on this mystery. Yes, but to get to the bottom of it, I'll probably need a breakthrough in my own research. Directly accessing the memory of the Heavens General would be the easiest route, but I'm afraid the Xianzhou would treat it as stealing the Heavens General's memory, like a dream eater, and lock me up in some special space. Pulling her thoughts back from the Third Abundance Follower War, Ino quickened her pace. Ahead, Yufu warriors were posted around the Sui Garden, and they seemed to be arguing with some newcomers. An automaton soul stealer pointed at the girl at the front and barked, "Suspicious persons trespassing in a restricted area. Apprehend first, question later. No exceptions." "Restricted area? Since when did Sui Garden become your private property?" someone retorted. "That girl is Gneifen," another voice said. Because Ino made no attempt to hide, Gneifen and the Yufu warriors spotted her. Just as Ino wondered how to explain her presence, a familiar voice called out, "Stand down, Yufu warrior. This person means no harm." Seeing the newcomer, Gneifen darted behind Ino. "Family, did you see that? This big sister has pale skin and shifty eyes. Is she human or a ghost? Having joined the Ten Lords Commission, you might as well consider me among the dead," Ino said dryly. Miss Ino didn't expect we'd meet again here. Neither had Ino expected the leader of the squad to be Hanya. Beside Hanya walked the matcha-haired Foxian who had appeared in Gneifen's video. Hanya stepped forward to scrutinize Gneifen. Gneifen, outsider, unemployed, entered Sui Garden the day before yesterday with a cloud knight named Sushang. Unemployed? I'm a street performer and a live streamer. I'm an anchor looking for trending topics. I have a real job. Wait, you're Miss Ino? You've been online for so long. How could you not know Miss Ino? The Foxian murmured. Of course I know her, but I didn't expect to see her in person. I thought this was a fan cosplay of Miss Ino, Gneifen blurted. Miss Ino, do you have urgent business here? Hanya asked. Nothing urgent. I heard Sui Garden was haunted and came for the spectacle. It looks like a lot of Mara-struck have escaped, right? Indeed, Hanya nodded. Gneifen, explain why you came back after leaving. Nothing much. I just haven't updated in a while and wanted to film some ghost footage for my channel. Hey, Miss Ino has already said what you saw were not ghosts, but Mara-struck that escaped into this place, Hanya added. But I clearly saw them, those things glowing with eerie fires, making strange cackling sounds. Mara-struck? On Xianzhou, Mara-struck are basically ghosts, right? That must be it. Hanya glanced at Ino. It's hard to explain fully in a sentence, but those aren't the ghosts of folktales. Don't try to fit your hometown legends to the Xianzhou. Mara-struck are a kind of abundance follower, dangerous energy parasites. Huo, show her an example. The Foxian behind Hanya sighed. It seems I still have to let Lord Tail out. Lord Tail? Huo's tail flared, and a blue, flame-like creature with eyes and a mouth materialized before them. I hear you. So noisy. I'm not some rare beast for humans to gawk at. Hey, you? Yes, you. I'm a Mara-struck. I'm the ghost you think I am. Understand? If you do, go away. Ghost? Gneifen screamed and stumbled back, startling Huo into taking a few steps as well. Huo, you're already a judge of the Ten Lords Commission. Be bolder, Hanya chided. Yes, Huo muttered. Hanya looked at Gneifen's wide-eyed face with mild surprise. What a strange little girl. She came here specifically to film spirits, but she screams the moment she sees one. Not wanting to admit she was a fraud, Gneifen took a few deep breaths and forced herself to calm down. Sir, what exactly is this? Ball of flame. How can we prevent it from suddenly attacking? And why would a judge carry something like that? Hanya's expression grew serious. The anomaly in Sui Garden is bound to attract attention, so we can't guarantee safety. If we rudely turned you away now, you wouldn't be willing to leave. If you came back later, you might not be so lucky to meet us again. The day before yesterday, the ambrosial arbor revived. Its roots ruptured the Luofu artisan's greatest creation, the creation furnace. The Mara-struck sealed within it escaped and have taken over this place. The Ten Lords Commission is responsible for recapturing them. In fact, Miss Ino had already guessed most of this. Ino gave a brief nod. Hanya continued. Marastruck like to parasitize intelligent beings. They feed on memories and emotions. Over time, a Marastruck roots itself in the host's nervous system and uses the host's desires and weaknesses to induce inverted delusions, controlling them like a puppet. We call that possession. At that point, what's in the host's head is no longer them, but a Mara-struck-built copy, a being similar to them yet fundamentally different. The host's body eventually gets consumed, like wood turned to ash. The problem is Mara-struck aren't flesh and blood. They're made of energy and are very hard to destroy. Until the creation furnace is repaired, the Ten Lords Commission plans to set up a binding and exorcism array in this abandoned garden to imprison these entities. She gestured around. As you can see, the array isn't complete, and not all escaped Marastruck have been recaptured. This place is dangerous. I'll have Judge Huohuo escort you out. Guinaifen glanced at Ino, then at herself, trying to sound brave. Of course, dangerous means dangerous for ordinary people like Guinaifen. Miss Ino, being someone who fought the Lord of Destruction, these Marastruck probably aren't a threat to her. As long as she doesn't interfere with the Ten Lords Commission's duties, Miss Ino is free to explore Sui Garden. Not all Marastruck have been recaptured, Guinaifen added after a beat. Does that mean other supernatural cases on Xianzhou might be related to Marastruck? I keep up with things. I might be able to help. I appreciate the offer, Hanya said. Huohuo, escort them out. Miss Guinaifen, we should go, Huohuo stammered. All right, but seeing Miss Ino in person today was worth it, Guinaifen replied, following Huohuo into a nearby Foxian grove. Ino slipped in behind them. When Ino reached a small courtyard, everyone had already vanished. Without the Trailblaze's power, Huohuo and the others couldn't use Sui Garden's spatial anchors to teleport instantly, so they'd left by a different route. Ino paused in the empty courtyard, smiling to herself. Oh my, things are getting interesting. A large door at the garden's edge closed on its own behind her. The mirror standing in the center of the courtyard caught Ino's eye. She studied it for a moment, then stepped forward and passed through into the world within the glass. 126. Staring. The world in the mirror had a wall every 3 steps and a door every 5. No matter which way she walked, she always ended up back where she started. An illusion? If I were alone, I could use some blunt tricks, but if Guinaifen and the others are here, they might be affected. I can't be led around by whoever created this illusion, and I can't just tear it down recklessly. Got it. Ino reached a closed door, bent her knees, then sprang up hard, clearing the height of the door and landing solidly on the ground beyond it. Treating the maze like any other labyrinth, climb when you can't find an exit, she stopped spinning in circles and quickly found a courtyard unlike the surrounding, copy-pasted scenes. A distant voice rang out. Heh, so you've noticed. This place is a maze of paths. Come, lost one, do you long to leave? If so, come find me. The voice. It's right next door. Ino stepped into the open space beside the courtyard. A wisp of blue flame rushed toward her. I heard the fallen leaves of Sui Garden whisper and the flames cry. They told me a potent body was approaching. They said the person had the aura of one who'd fought Fantelia. You are the one who drove away Fantelia, so powerful. Just feeling your presence is deliciously terrifying. Let me taste you? One bite, just a tiny bite. I can't wait to sample your flavor. The blue flame steadied before Ino. To her surprise, it was a huge blue eyeball. If she hadn't known what Marastruck were, Ino might have thought she'd run into a long-lost sister. Before she could fully take in the sight, the eyeball dove into her body. You are Fuyan, a fragment of the great Marastruck Liaoyuan. Once inside, the visitor realized something was wrong. She couldn't read many emotions. Instead, a red eye, several times larger than herself, stared back. Fuyan looked up, and literally, she and Ino had a staring contest. Ah ha ha ha, you see how similar we are. Maybe we were family 5,000 years ago. Well, I won't disturb you. I'm leaving now. Sensing danger, Fuyan shot out of Ino's body at top speed. No, you can't leave. I have a theory about the Marastruck. What I couldn't test on Fantelia, I can test on you. Ah! As soon as Fuyan left Ino's body, she collapsed to the ground. What would happen if a virus that parasitizes other organisms infected a Marastruck, which itself parasitizes other organisms, becoming a parasite on a parasite. The experiment I abandoned during my fight with Fantelia can finally be answered. You can't kill me. Eno crouched and watched the large blue eye roll on the ground. The formless eye itself is very hard to kill, and the Maristruck are followers of abundance. But just as you now call yourself Fuyan rather than Liaoyuan, if I disperse you, will Fuyan still exist? Of course, this isn't the most resourceful method. Since the Maristruck like to feed on human emotions, does that mean they can become carriers for different path energies? If I capture you and send you to Bosuo Star, perhaps Ruan Mei could inject materials originally used to cultivate the propagation emissary into your body. The Maristruck's transparent form would make observing the results easier. Because Maristruck are hard to kill, one experiment could follow another. I'm curious what would happen if fragments of the worm and embers of destruction were introduced into a Maristruck. Fuyan's single eye widened as if she'd seen a ghost. Spare me. Spare me. This place wasn't set up by me. I, like you, like your excellency, am a victim. I was only following the instincts of a Maristruck. Ah, ah, ah! A wisp of black mist curled out of the blue-green Fuyan. As perhaps the first Maristruck to be parasitized by a virus, she no longer had the strength to roll. Since you can parasitize others, a parasite reading a host's memories shouldn't be strange to you, right? What you said is partly true, but not completely. You didn't only plan to use me to escape, you intended to use me against the other Maristruck in Sui Garden, to lead them, reap the benefits, and reforge the old rivalry between Liaoyuan and Tengxiao. Did I say something wrong? No, that was only how I imagined it before. After seeing your strength, I don't think that anymore. If you don't believe me, look again. Eno's face was unreadable. And even if it's only you, finding others trapped in the illusion, leading them out, and defeating the Maristruck who created it, you don't seem capable of any of those three things. So why let you go, just because you resemble my main body? Oh, right, other Maristruck have escaped from Sui Garden. I know who they'll possess and what those possessed will do. I know it all. I can help the Ten Lords Commission catch the other Maristruck. Silence. At Eno's hand gesture, the pain in Fuyan's body vanished. She floated in the air again and mercilessly shifted to a pleading tone. This illusion was set up by Huyan, and the clue to leaving here is... No clue is needed. Eno pressed her palm to the nearby wall. Seconds later, the stone seemed to corrode, and a man-sized gap opened. This is... When I eroded you earlier, while you were rolling on the ground, did the scene in your eyes stay the same? Yes. Even while you kept circling, this place is large enough relative to Sui Garden that your reaction proved something. Huyan didn't just deceive the senses, she drags the souls of those who step into the barrier into a special space. No matter how the Maristruck accomplished it, one thing is indispensable: imaginary energy. So long as the original waveform of imaginary energy is disrupted, this space's stability will be affected, and it will collapse. Fuyan fell silent. Put simply, the easiest and most efficient way to escape a maze isn't to solve it on the maze maker's terms. It's to dismantle the maze walls directly. 127, Chapter Team Building. Then, why did you climb over the wall just now? Because I needed to know how much force would dismantle only the wall in front of me. There are other people in this labyrinth, and I don't know where they are. If someone were right behind it and I used too much strength, I might hurt them. Oh, on the other side, using the Ten Lords Commission's instruments and years of experience, Huohuo reached a small courtyard and found a notebook on the ground. Sui Garden Night Tales, First Act. Maybe the way out of this illusion is in here, she said. It says that on that day in the mansion, General Tengxiao was planning strategy, trying to lift the siege of Buli. Suddenly, a strange wind blew through the front hall, and the curtains stirred. General Tengxiao rose, clasped his hands behind his back, and addressed the empty room. To come uninvited is impolite already. How long will you hide your shape and shadow? Reveal yourself. A hollow laugh echoed endlessly through the empty hall. From the void, a rootless green flame leapt up like a faint ghostly eye and stared at the general, a terrifying sight. I have heard each of the Emperor Bo's heavenly generals is exceptional. Today, seeing you, I believe it. I entered your hall unannounced. Please forgive me, but my reason for coming is to help lift the siege. The people of Buli press close, intent on annihilating Luofu. You have few troops left. Repelling them will be like climbing to the heavens. Though the green flame had no mouth, it spoke as if human, hovering and drifting, lighting the hall's gloom. The mansion's guards were expressionless, like they were dreaming. Mortals fear life and death in battle, but possessed by Mara-struck like us, one fears no blade. Defeating the enemy would be as easy as flipping one's hand. If the Mara-struck help me with no price, there must be a cost. I've heard the Emperor Bao once traded a mortal body for the aid of the Emperor Sui. What you ask will be similar, won't it? What I, Liao Yuan, desire is precisely your body and your emotions as an Emperor Bao general. This is the story of Liao Yuan and General Tengxiao. Tale, is this true? The tale floating beside Huohuo circled the notebook once. I'm not the fragment that tends Liao Yuan's memories. How would I remember something from over 1,000 years ago? But it seems an event like that did happen. Still, that's not the real point. Keep reading. The method to leave this place is hidden further on. Hiss. Before Huohuo could continue, a strange sound came from the left wall. She stepped back. Oh, look at you being scared. And you're a judge of the 10 Lords' Commission? If someone's pulling tricks, just drag them out and deal with them. The tale stopped. The left wall had vanished, and Ino stepped through. Miss Ino? A large blue eyeball flew out from behind her and hovered in front. Ha ha! I wasn't wrong, was I? There's a similar aura nearby. They're really here. Soon, other Mara-struck drifted to Huohuo's side. Oh, isn't this Fuyan? Long time no see. How did you end up like this? I thought you'd be hiding inside a puppet and doing ventriloquism, as befits your conduct. Fuyan, who usually took orders from Ino, bristled at the tale's mockery and snapped back sarcastically. Ha! Ha! Ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous! I'd thought you escaped the furnace's fate. Who would have guessed that the fiercest fragment of the great Mara-struck Liaoyuan would be sealed inside some whining little girl's body, reduced to a watchdog? Ah, no, you don't even count as a watchdog now. You're just a tail, right? Tail? Tail! Fuyan was about to keep taunting the tail, but Ino's expression had hardened, and Fuyan cut itself off. Heh, Fuyan, look at you. Were you just introducing yourself? You, let's not argue. Miss Ino, have you found a way out? But we need to find the others first. Where are Hanya and Ganefan? I don't know. I left markers along the way. If Lady Hanya and Miss Ganefan see them, they'll find their way here. Then wait here. I'll go fetch them. Ino dissolved the wall behind her and walked ahead. From behind came Fuyan and Huohuo's voices. Little sister, for a judge you know so little. Mara-struck are supposed to gather where people do, yet now they meet in this forsaken Sui garden. Do you know why? Team building? Ino tripped, nearly falling. Ha! Huohuo's really an interesting girl. With everyone quieted, Fuyan glanced after the departing Ino. Confirming she didn't want it to follow, it resumed speaking. Of course, because 1,000 years ago this Sui garden was the battlefield where the great Mara-struck Liaoyuan clashed with Luofu's general Tengxiao. The furnace shattered and the Mara-struck escaped. The fragments that once made up Liaoyuan returned with one longing, to fight the general again. That battle was earth-shattering and ghost-wailing. Liaoyuan shifted endlessly, flood, fire, crumbling mountains, roaring thunder, and fought the general to an even stand, 50-50. 50-50? The Commission's records say Liaoyuan was crushed by General Tengxiao. Human records only celebrate the general. In truth, Liaoyuan, even after absorbing the power of countless Mara-struck, misjudged human cunning and narrowly lost. After the battle, Liaoyuan could no longer coalesce, scattering into fragments and being sealed in the furnace of creation. Of course, there are always exceptions. I thought, Lord Tail, you'd slipped off into freedom and were living easy, but who'd imagine you'd be subdued by this little fox girl? Laughable. Subdued my ass, the tail snapped. This old beast, beaten to the plains, meeting that little fox, terrible luck. But thinking a Mara-struck who prides itself on being clever ended up a lapdog disliked even when following others, that makes me feel better. You don't know anything. Miss Ino, she's a genius. So? It's an honor to be the dog of a genius. Probably because that genius has power beyond a judge of the 10 Lords' Commission, and you couldn't resist. Fine, I admit I was wrong earlier. You are Mara-struck, so even if you wanted to be a dog, you wouldn't have the means. Chapter 128, Ghost Hunting Team. Fuyan was about to snap, then stopped. Something was wrong. That can't be right. Aren't you supposed to have been torn apart by Luyuan? I represent Luyuan's wisdom. Shouldn't you be the one getting riled by me? Represent Luyuan's wisdom, you? That's the funniest thing I've heard in a while. Fuyan's temper fizzled when she noticed Ino had returned. She swallowed the retort. Hanya, Miss Gunaifen, I'm so glad you're both all right. Hanya glanced at Huohuo and then at Ino. After we entered the illusion, the other Yufu warriors found the separated Gunaifen. We followed the marks you left and searched until we reached the area near where we found Miss Ino. In that case, Miss Ino, were you able to find a way out? Hanya asked. Before Ino could answer, Alicia's voice, bright with the same excitement that had been bubbling under Ino's calm, cut in. Alicia wants to take over from here. I want to feel involved too. If it's Ino's kindness, I'll gratefully accept, Alicia chimed. Alicia's energy shifted. She smoothed her hair and condensed a bow of imaginary energy at her right hand. It's simple. Everyone, please step back a little. Hanya barely had time to wonder what Alicia planned when the archer drew to full string, aimed at a nearby wall, and loosed an arrow. The shaft punched through the wall and kept going, passing through every barrier in its path until it vanished from sight. For a stunned moment, no one moved. Then the world flipped, and they found themselves back in Sui Garden. Alicia relinquished control to Ino. Alicia, if you want to keep playing, you can, Ino offered. No need. I'm just happy Ino thought of me, Alicia sang back. We're back, Hanya breathed, fully present now. She led the others deeper into Sui Garden, where they found a large heap of underworld agents, Mingta, strewn about. One of them, the automaton Shui, lay among them. Sister! Hanya hurried to Shui's side and checked her over, relief flooding her features. Huohuo moved quickly behind Shui and lifted an unconscious Mara-struck onto her shoulder, tucking it into Shui's gourd for containment. Before long, Shui stirred. Little sister, I remember, myself and the other underworld agents came with you as reinforcements to Sui Garden to apprehend the escaped Mara-struck. But what happened? Shui asked groggily. Sister, you and the others are fine. The illusion creator Huiyan has been subdued. As for how, let Miss Ino explain, Hanya said. It's simple, Ino replied. Huiyan, like the rest, was stunned by a very intense burst of energy in a short span of time. I see. Thank you again, Miss Ino. I will report your deed to the Ten Lords Commission. The Mara-struck in the garden are no longer a threat and can be restrained at once. However, many Mara-struck are still hiding among the streets and alleys. Luofu is vast. They'll be hard to locate. Sister, don't worry. I already have an idea, Hanya said. She turned to Gunaifen. Miss Gunaifen, what do you think about helping us track the Mara-struck that escaped beyond the garden? Gunaifen hesitated for a heartbeat, still disoriented. Judge, to be honest, I feel like I'm dreaming. Then, would you be willing to help the Ten Lords Commission find the escaped Mara-struck? Hanya asked gently. Gunaifen's eyes lit up. Judge, you mean it? Hanya nodded. At first I didn't want to involve civilians, but after thinking it through, I believe with Miss Gunaifen's help, the commission can be much more efficient. However, Mara-struck are dangerous. Ordinary people shouldn't be exposed to them. If I join as well, I can ensure Gunaifen's safety, Ino volunteered. Oh, Gunaifen breathed. That would be amazing. I just happen to be looking for something to do. Hanya continued. Since Gunaifen is a streamer, the method I had in mind is to use the internet. Help from someone with an online presence could be very effective. Then I can help maximize everyone's efficiency, Ino said. Catching Mara-struck will be like a game for me. If Gunaifen uses the network, I can make things much faster. That would be wonderful, Hanya said, relief evident. Under Hanya's guidance, they set up a new account for Gunaifen on Luofu Miscellany, a paranormal interest site. Account created, Gunaifen announced. I just need followers. Once I have more, I'll start getting tips and reports about strange incidents. Based on my experience on other platforms, once people see my account is active, they'll send in all kinds of reports. Miss Ino, Lord Huohuo, we'll have to rely on you both a lot for this ghost hunting squad, Gunaifen said. You can just call me Huohuo, he replied awkwardly. But once your follower count rises, although you'll get more reports, you'll also get a lot of rumors mixed in. That's true, Hanya agreed. Some submissions will be blatantly fake, but others will be harder to judge from a short online message. Some people will invent anything to get attention. We can always send the Commission's underworld agents to investigate suspicious leads more discreetly, Ino said. She peered at Gneifen's screen. Actually, it doesn't have to be that troublesome. For example, of the 3 messages you just received, the first is a staged photo made to grab attention. Wow, Miss Ino, how did you tell? Gneifen gushed. If it involves professional knowledge, I probably wouldn't understand. No special expertise. I just had the carefree memes run a quick check within Luofu miscellany. They can parasitize a host's consciousness through the synesthetic beacon. Their intelligence isn't high enough to copy someone's memories verbatim, but they can answer general questions well enough. As expected of you, Gneifen murmured. Then she noticed something odd. Wait, why did the person you mentioned who staged photos delete their account? Did you do that? No. Ino sounded almost innocent. But to stop them from staging photos and spreading false information again, I adjusted the total in that person's bank account. I moved the decimal point 3 places to the left. Gulp. Gneifen never expected swallowing her saliva to be so loud. 129. Chapter information. Filtering. Ino's gaze seemed to be fixed on the world ahead, but in reality it dove into the network. The parasitic virus in the Luofu miscellany fed information to her as clean streams of data. The video was real, and the many accounts claiming to be eyewitnesses were operated by actual people. Huohuo read the message again, careful. If it's real, she murmured, it sounds like the work of a Mara struck. They're experts at manipulating perception. Ancient records are full of them, making illusions and playing tricks. Before we go, understanding what a Mara struck wants and what it can do will help us rescue the possessed host. Asking those eyewitnesses is one way, she continued, but they don't actually know anything about the Mara struck itself. Miss Ino, I'm afraid we need another information source. Before she finished, Fuyan materialized at Ino's side from who knew where. Do you know why Hanya didn't capture you too? She asked. Hehe, I know. Don't worry, I already have a lead. The one who probably spirited away this dragon lady is Azuo. He's extremely playful, not the type who'd bother with manipulating mortals' emotions. He just wants to roam and have fun. That makes him the most likely suspect. We've been sealed away for 1,000 years and haven't tasted human joys and sorrows for a long time. Azuo must be eager to wander and find someone to play with. Lady Huohuo, what do you think? Most of what Fuyan says is true, Huohuo answered. A Marastruck's nature follows the personality of its host. Attached to a combative warrior, and it turns aggressive. Attached to a playful child, and it becomes childlike and mischievous. I remember Miss Bailu often running off to play in Golden Man Alley. I think she's a child who longs for freedom. With that clue, things are simpler. But Miss Ino is now a celebrity on the Luofu. If you go in person, I'm afraid both the Dragon Lady and Azuo will notice. By the time we arrive, they might already be gone from Golden Man Alley. It doesn't matter. From Fuyan's description, Azuo isn't very hostile. You two can handle Bailu. There could be a Marastruck at the Divination Commission, too. Fuyan scrolled through a feed. Oh, here it is. A post by Playing with Cards for Life. Today, like always, I was late for work. Huh? Is the Divination Commission's care so good you can be late and leave early every day? The work at the Divination Commission is no easier than at the Ten Lords Commission, and Diviner Fu is strict. That sounds like an outlier, she said, then looked at Ino. The Divination Commission, the place where the Xianzhou read futures and divine destinies. Let me think. Besides Rhyming Flame, who else would linger where the Xianzhou peer into the future? He loves pestering seers. He debates fate with them, toying with their sense of randomness and predestination. Honestly, Xianzhou reasoning is inefficient. Their takes on destiny are just analogies and shadows. We invisible eyes are different. When we gather, resonate, and observe, destiny becomes like lighting a room. In combat, predicting an opponent's moves is everything. So among the Marastruck that make up the Prairie Fire, Rhyming Flame presides over discerning past and future, predicting fortune and misfortune. It said Rhyming Flame once warned of failure, but Prairie Fire ignored him, Huo added. If he acted, he must have calculated total defeat and surrendered without a fight. The objective is clear. I'll handle the Divination Commission. After she spoke, Ino borrowed a 10 Lords Commission artifact from Huo and teleported away using the nearest space anchor. Gunaifen, watching with interest, turned to Fuyan. You make the invisible eyes sound so powerful. So how do you view destiny? She asked. Fuyan smiled faintly. You don't seem like someone obsessed with predicting the future like Rhyming Flame. Of course not, but as a streamer, I need content. People pay attention to topics. You'll be disappointed then. I'm not Rhyming Flame. I don't dwell on that. Everything has an end. Maybe billions of years from now, maybe tomorrow afternoon. Because of Nanook's pawn, Ix's yawn, or some other trivial cause, this universe will end. All species, long-lived and short-lived, will perish. That's a fact. And what use is knowing that fact? What does it change now? A flame doesn't stop burning because it will be extinguished in the heat death of the universe. And you don't skip dinner because Xianzhou fate says the world ends tomorrow. Destiny. Why should a fish worry about where the river flows? Gunaifen opened her mouth to ask more, but found Fuyan lost in thought and no longer answering. Miss Gunaifen, we should hurry. Even if Ajuo isn't very dangerous, prolonged possession can leave irreversible mark the Dragon Lady's mind. My apologies, I'm coming. At the Divination Commission's entrance, Ino found a diviner fidgeting with an Empyrean jade. Oh dear, Miss Ino, there have been odd occurrences at the Commission lately. You've come at an inconvenient time. Ah, I haven't introduced myself. I'm Qing Kui, a diviner from the Divination Commission. Ino produced her phone and paused the Lufu Miscellany page. You posted that? She asked. Ah, yes, that's mine. Playing with Cards for Life. I'm the one who posted it. I'm here to help. You said strange things have been happening? Yes. First, someone read a page from a book near the Auspice Terrace and then convulsed and fainted. We were lucky the Everwinter Shadewalkers and the Alchemy Commission arrived in time. That's when I learned someone had exploited the chaos at the Alchemy Commission to steal the Forbidden Compendium and run into the Divination Commission. It seems to be the Scroll of Frenzy, Ino thought. And now the whole commission is off. People keep muttering to themselves. Is this a workplace coup? It can't be because I set a bad example by being late, can it? No, said bluntly. The Divination Commission is very likely occupied by a Mara-struck. Mara-struck? Mara-struck? I've read about them. Essences of starlight that can freely change shape, fond of manipulating mortals' dreams and desires. Are you saying the diviner is being controlled by something like that? Highly likely. I'll know once I go inside. For safety, you wait out here. If it's that dangerous, wouldn't it be wrong for me to just stand guard? If I turn tail and leave now, that counts as AWOL. Slacking off is one thing, but the diviner won't forgive absence without leave. Besides, you need someone who knows the Divination Commission to guide you and lend a hand. I'm coming. All right. Ino and Qingque stepped into the Divination Commission and found a bank of diviners staring upward, faces drained of hope. There's only ever one path. Divination is meaningless, they murmured. Ino barely glanced at them. Her eyes went straight to Fu Xuan, who sat at the center of the matrix of prescience. Fu Xuan had been murmuring, sifting through calculations as usual, yet the matrix wasn't moving. Something was very wrong. As if sensing them, Fu Xuan stopped and turned. Silence! No loud noises in the Divination Commission, she snapped. Lady Fu Xuan, you're awake, someone cried. Ino took a step forward. No, Diviner Fu Xuan is still possessed by Rhyming Flame. The voice, Fu Xuan's, but more commanding, cut sharply. Whether it's Fu Xuan or Rhyming Flame, I am the sole master of this commission. Divination work stands at a critical juncture. There is no room for disturbances. Even a guest of the Astral Express, a genius famed across the Star Dome, must not be presumptuous here. Fu Xuan's gaze hardened when she saw Qingque. Qingque, it's you again. Did you bring outsiders into the department? Do you ignore every rule I put in place? Ino, expecting Rhyming Flame to lash out, drew erosion at once. Qingque, you're fired. Eh? Qingque blurted, then flushed. What? This is too much. She brightened with embarrassment and an odd pride. Heh, I suppose I have been too idle, playing cards all day while collecting wages from the Divination Commission, kind of a waste of life. Thank you, Diviner Fushuan, for giving me a nudge. Since you think I'm underutilized, I should make some changes. But before I leave, I should at least solve the trouble facing the Commission. If I was dismissed in the middle of a crisis, people would think I abandoned my post. She scratched her head sheepishly and turned to Ino. Ah, I was rambling. Miss Ino, what do we do to help the diviner break free from her delusion? Fushuan snorted. Delusion? This diviner is perfectly clear-headed. In fact, I have never been clearer. From now on, I will devote myself completely to deducing the destined future of the Xianzhou Alliance and declaring it to the world so that people may live with full clarity. Ino shook her head. Someone who says that is not as clear-headed as they think. This diviner knows precisely what you'll say. Man can conquer nature. Free will. These are merely simple illusions produced by the human brain. From the start, there has been only one path. Even a genius is an extension of the all-seeing Lord's thought. Boarding the Astral Express, whom you fight, where you go, those choices you believe you make freely are tributaries that ultimately flow into Destiny's river. You must have seen this on your journey, helping the Shenzhou defeat Fantelia, yes? The all-seeing Lord knew such an outcome countless amber eras ago. Before you even reached the Luofu, everything you experienced there had been pre-written like a script by that slave hidden behind the scenes. Ino stayed calm. If you're saying the future is unique and determined, can you calculate what my future is? Of course, if I run it through the matrix of prescience. Not long after, Fushuan slumped to the floor. Qingque stared at Ino, shocked. In all her memories, Fushuan had never lost her composure like this. Yi, your future. Why? This is impossible. A small smile tipped Ino's mouth. What did it say? What's my only certain future? Fushuan stayed on the ground, then struggled to her feet. No matter the question, the matrix of prescience always yields a result. You, what exactly did you do? Before Ino could reply, realization dawned on Fushuan's face. You infiltrated the matrix of prescience at some point. That's right, Ino said. I'm a virus. The matrix is a device. For me, it's effortless. During the scholarly wars, Fushuan muttered, scrambling for context, a scholar named Pathivia received a problem called the solitary wave algorithm from erudition. Solving it would prove whether the universe's outcome is definite or not. Hundreds of amber eras later, Herta solved it with a heap of scratch paper and concluded, because of the aeon's interference, the question of whether the universe is definite is itself indefinite. Why are you telling me this now? Fushuan asked. If you were the real Fushuan, you'd already understand what I'm saying, Ino replied. You tried to calculate my future with the matrix, but you found the result blank because I hacked it beforehand. Is there a chance that, apart from a blank, the matrix could output something completely different? Fushuan began, then sighed. Never mind. Numbers are more convincing than words. Calculate again. Fushuan recalculated. The result is, you will choke to death on your dinner tonight. Qingque burst out laughing. Calculate again. The matrix printed another result. Ino would be slapped to death by Qingque in the next moment. Ah, Miss Ino, I would never dream of that. Qingque stammered. Ino turned to Fushuan. Rhyming flame, do you see? What the matrix outputs depends entirely on what I want it to show. Whether your future ends up in a Ten Lords Commission artifact or in Ruanmei's laboratory is up to my will. You're only using your ability to hide the truth that the future is uniquely determined. Fushuan protested. Then is there a possibility that the entire universe has been smoothed over by erudition in the same way? That the truth you derive, that the future is uniquely determined, is itself the truth someone wanted you to derive? Chapter 131, CPU Overload. A moment later, a ball of flame shot out of rhyming flame and slammed into the ground with a dull thud. Ino's question had exceeded the little spirit's processing capacity. Rhyming flame had been like a student obsessed with solving one last impossible problem, so focused it pushed its mind into overdrive until its internal CPU fried. Its final, exhausted conclusion was simple. Even if it died, it still couldn't answer Ino's question because it didn't know how. Ino produced the charm Huohuo had given her and drew rhyming flame inside. Miss Ino, Hanya began. My goal wasn't to argue truth with Rhyming Flame, Eno said, calm. It was to force it to think beyond what it could bear. Whether the argument was sophistry or nonsense doesn't matter. If it made the creature stall and break, then it worked. A Mara struck of Rhyming Flame's level doesn't even rate a mention by erudition. She smiled, eyes distant. Besides, just because everyone in the future is anchored by erudition doesn't mean they must only accept fate. I imagine the universe like a table of jade tiles. When the tiles are shuffled, the broad shape of a game, who's likely to win or lose, often becomes clear. You can calculate what cards will be played, what's left in the deck, even what hands others might try to make. But if everything is only calculation, the game loses its flavor. Jade tiles is not just math, it's adaptation, surprises, mistakes, the small loss of control that makes the game worth playing. Even in a losing game, choices aren't meaningless, choice is meaning itself. She laughed, a little embarrassed. Ah, I got carried away. Fu Xuan, who had been staggered by the encounter, was beginning to come to herself. Qingque stepped forward immediately. Diviner, are you all right? Fu Xuan rubbed her temples. I'm fine. Just a headache. Miss Eno, you've caused me trouble again. Qingque, you're owed credit too. I didn't do much, Qingque started, then grinned. Oh right, you fired me when the Mara struck possessed you. That must count for something. Go ahead and write a notice to terminate my contract unilaterally. With all the years I've wasted at the Divination Commission, I could get a tidy severance. I'll open a card parlor, hire a few hands, live off the interest, and never work again. She laughed at her own fantasy. Fu Xuan managed to smile. Too bad. I said a lot of nonsense while I was under it. I don't remember any of it. But Qingque, why are you still here? Aren't you supposed to be on duty in the library? A diviner's word is her bond. How could I break it? Funny, Fu Xuan said, then with a softer tone. I heard your conversation with Miss Eno. Choice itself is meaning. Those were your words. Qingque relented with a small bow. I can't win against you. Rest a while. I'll go. Slack off. I'll get back to work. Fu Xuan did her best to take stock of the room. Within minutes, the Divination Commission had mostly been set right again. Eno told her about the ghost-catching team's mission. If word gets out that the diviner was possessed by a Marastruck, it won't sound good, she said. I don't care how you arrange it. Just hide the names and identities. Eno returned to Sui Garden, handed the charm back to Hanya, and reported what had happened at the commission. Once Hanya sealed Rhyming Flame inside the demon-suppressing pagoda, she let out a long sigh. I didn't expect someone as brilliant and resourceful as Diviner Fu Xuan to be swayed by a Marastruck. I can understand her distress. We're all forced forward on paths we can't see. The judges uphold the Ten Lords' edicts and carry out orders, but no one ever explains why to us. Like the diviner, no matter what cruel or terrifying choices they witness, if those choices serve the people of Luofu, they must make them. Maybe those decisions are ultimately wise, but we're flesh and blood. We still suffer making them. She rubbed her eyes. Sorry, I'm rambling. Maybe too much paperwork has frayed my nerves. There's been no reply from Huo Huo or Miss Guinefin. Perhaps I should go and check. Please, Eno said. Thank you. At Golden Man Alley, Eno immediately sensed something wrong. The alley front seemed to stretch on forever, a spatial illusion reminiscent of the enraged flame trick. 2 Alchemy Commission medics stood nearby, neither moving forward nor retreating. Did a Foxian and an outsider go in here? Eno asked. The younger medic answered, worried. Yes, a green-haired Foxian girl and an outsider street performer came by. They said they were from the Cloud Knights 10th Public Order Squad, those rookie patrols who get sent on thankless jobs. They were helping us look for the runaway dragon lady. Someone offering help is a blessing, the older medic added, but they went inside and there's been no sign since. If we follow them, we might get trapped too and no one would know. But if we leave, we can't let the dragon lady's escape become public, and we don't know how to report this. We're stuck. Cloud Knight's 10th? Eno's face hardened. Those are my friends. I have to go in and check on them. You're their friend? The younger medic asked, eyes widening. The older medic hesitated. Well, we can't stop you. Be careful. Eno stepped into the warped alley. The young medic watched her go, fretting aloud. Is it really okay? She's so brave. I hope she doesn't go in and never come back. The older medic watched Ino's retreating form and sighed, then patted the junior's shoulder. Wait, could that be Miss Ino? The one who fought the Lord of Destruction the other day? Eh, experienced. She's right. If it's Miss Ino, she'll definitely be able to bring the Dragon Lady and the others out, the junior said, relief flooding their voice. They both fell quiet for a moment, then the older medic muttered, half to himself, half to fate. We've been overworked. Our minds are fraying. We've been seeing things, 2 dragon ladies, phantom visitors, and we didn't even recognize Miss Ino when she was right in front of us. After this busy stretch, we need time off. This can't be that bad, can it? We're not even 500 years old combined, the young one protested. Be glad we're still young enough to notice and treat it early, the older medic answered grimly. If we waited a few hundred more years, we might already be Mara-struck. 132. Azuo. This. Once she entered the illusion, Ino realized that Azuo's creation was essentially identical to Huiyan's. If they weren't exactly the same, they were indistinguishable. Maybe it's because they were both made in Liaoan, she thought. They probably used the same batch of materials. Identical meant simple. Ino walked to the nearest wall and flicked it. The whole thing collapsed in a crash, revealing a small figure dashing full tilt, completely unprepared for Ino bursting through. The figure slammed into her and yelped. The kid scrambled up, face furious. You adults are disgusting, stealing away a child's rare happy time. I wanted to bring you all into a world where kids are free and happy, but since you insist on ruining the fun, don't blame Azuo for using violence to communicate. Violence is the only language you adults understand, just like when you lecture us. When the child introduced herself, Ino didn't hesitate. Like a hawk snatching a chick, she scooped up the Bailu illusion Azuo had made. Azuo struggled, pounding at Ino's chest with tiny fists. Hoo. Huohuo and Guinaifen came running, out of breath. Beside Guinaifen stood the real Bailu. Woo, I'm sorry, Ailu. An adult scolded me. I can't play with you anymore. Azuo, didn't we pinky swear that you wouldn't go back with the adults? Adults break their promises, but children don't, right? I couldn't help it. Even the longest playtime has to end, but I had so much fun today. Let's play again. No, there won't be a next time, Huohuo said. She pulled out her concealed moon gourd and gathered Azuo inside. Ino miss, thank you. If you hadn't come, Huohuo and I might still be chasing her. This Mara-struck isn't very aggressive, but it runs so much. Even someone like me who exercises regularly couldn't keep up. As Azuo vanished into the gourd, Bailu's half-closed eyes cleared. My memory's fuzzy, but I feel like I did a lot of odd things. Don't blame yourself, Bailu miss. Think of it as a dream of freedom. It's not your fault. But everyone ran around for me. I remember that. I'm really sorry. To be controlled and confined makes you want to escape. That's human nature. It's the adults who are always trying to correct you, telling you how you should be, who cause the problem. I'd already prepared my apology. Big sister, you ruined my train of thought. Why apologize? I'm not so different. Even though I'm almost an adult, I still miss running around barefoot. Being scolded by my elder brother, being told to grow up, there's always resistance and escape to prove you can survive without your family. I settled down in Shanzhou. Whether you're a dragon lady or an ordinary person, most lives follow similar paths. One day, Bailu miss, you'll have the strength to move on from this phase, so enjoy what you have now and don't keep apologizing for it. Big sister, you're great at speeches. Why don't you come work at the Alchemy Commission's medical hall as a counselor? Woo, is she actually a runaway? Why does she talk so sharp and so precocious? Guinaifen miss, maybe we shouldn't linger here. This place is too eerie. If we're going to chat, let's find somewhere else. The tail sighed, clearly done with the subject. With Azuo subdued, the illusion collapsed on its own, and everyone returned to Golden Man Alley. The 2 medical assistants who had been pacing let out huge sighs of relief when they saw everyone safe. Dragon Lady, these misses, thank goodness you're all right. You've worked hard. We'll go back with you now. Wait a moment. Guinaifen stepped forward and explained the Luofu miscellany matter to Bailu. We can't go around telling people the Dragon Lady was possessed by a Mara-struck. You'll need to omit names and create an exaggerated headline instead. Exactly. We'll turn it into a sensational supernatural story. The bigger, the better. then announce that our team resolved it. A few photos and videos will grab attention and bring in more information. That's fine. I'll leave it to you. Bai Lu and the two medical assistants left Golden Man Alley. As expected of Miss, did the Divination Commission side get sorted out so quickly? I'll also need your help writing up the Fushuan possession piece. No problem. Leave it to me. I'll make sure it doesn't cause panic and that it brings in followers. Leaned over as Gwynafin typed. Shocking. Matrix of Prescience feared to develop self-awareness. Second automaton rebellion possible. That headline will cause trouble. If the higher-ups in Xianzhou see that, they might suspect me. Ah, Miss? Can you actually make the Matrix of Prescience gain self-awareness? That depends on what you mean by self-awareness. Injecting a virus into the Matrix so that its calculations and outputs follow my personal will, that's easy for me. And if you go further, controlling the aggregation of decades worth of data from the Matrix, given enough time, and assuming the Jade Abacus hasn't been damaged by repeated calculations, maybe the data itself could develop something like self-awareness, a kind of data life. If that's what you mean, then yes, I could, in a way. To some extent, I suppose that counts. All right, I'll change the title. Gwynafin typed a calmer version. Divination algorithm update overwhelms commission after heavy workload. How's that? At least it won't cause unnecessary panic. With the article settled, Gwynafin stretched. Today wore me out. If Miss hadn't arrived when she did, and if I'd had to chase any further, I'd be filing for workers' comp. Whoa, the ghost hunting team's work is done here. All right, I'll take Azuo back to Sui Garden to calm her down. Miss, see you tomorrow. Huo and Gwynafin left Golden Man Alley. I still feel like had more to give, don't you? Huo said. The higher your expectations, the harder the fall, Gwynafin replied. I knew these Marastruck couldn't compare to Fantelia, but the gap between an ordinary Marastruck and a Lord of Destruction, it's even bigger than I expected. Haha, isn't proof of that? She isn't an emissary right now, and even against an emissary like Fantelia, who isn't a direct fighting type, she wouldn't be guaranteed a win. But that doesn't stop from being stronger than most people at the moment. Still seems full of energy. How about one more round? You've already thought of the next target, haven't you? At that moment, Ino's phone opened Luofu Miscellany on its own and paused on a post. Shocking. A respectable Cloud Knight acting like this at the Alchemy Commission. Folks, let me tell you what I saw. I was passing by the Alchemy Commission when I heard strange noises at the entrance. I went to look, and believe it or not, a Cloud Knight was pacing by the wall, murmuring to himself and suddenly waving his sword like he was possessed. The other dozen Cloud Knights couldn't hold him down. I heard the Commission arrested a lot of people not long ago. Could it be disciples of Sanctus Medicus hiding out at the Commission, trying to get revenge? Second thought. No, it probably isn't the disciples of Sanctus Medicus. The Cloud Knights arrested so many people before and didn't find him. He must be hiding well. Causing trouble now would only expose himself. If he were that foolish, he'd already be in Cloudford prison. So, what's going on? Any ideas? This is real, Alicia said with a mysterious smile. Judging by his condition, it's likely a highly aggressive Marastruck. But using the previous Marastruck as a reference, I should be able to deal with it easily. About this round, I have an idea. I get the urge to play like this sometimes, just once, okay? Sigh, fine. As long as you're happy, Alicia, you can play as much as you want. Alicia grabbed in a sudden hug. Hey, I knew it. Is the best. Sometime later, at the entrance to the Alchemy Commission, a Cloud Knight staggered and raised his weapon as if to strike a comrade. Another rushed up and put his arms around him. Brother, calm down. The disoriented knight roared, pushed with sudden force, and sent the one holding him crashing to the ground. I've just realized a new move. I'll use this to end you. He leapt up and slashed. The targeted knight tried to dodge, but his opponent's speed was too fast. Just as the blade was about to bite into him, a delicate hand intercepted the weapon. Oh dear, that was close. A real close call. With a gentle push, the disoriented knight stumbled back and fell. Who are you? Miss Ino? The blue-haired girl tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. That's right, it's me. Just now, Don't worry, he's fine, but he's not in a great state. The fallen knight blinked, his confusion slowly clearing. How are you feeling? I feel like all my strength has been drained. Do you remember what happened? I remember bits. Let me think. Today I got a report about evil creatures at the Alchemy Commission, and the captain sent me to deal with them. After that, it felt like a dream, very strange. My weapon started talking to me. It was teaching me martial arts, saying my moves were all show and my stance weak. It told me to relax and let it guide my blade to kill. I listened and it felt like my skill improved, but then it called me dull, a block of rotten wood. It said it wanted another disciple to inherit its technique. That's when I noticed a child with a sword standing beside me, staring. That child was the general's esteemed disciple, little brother Yangqing. Oh, my blade told me to attack, and something in me, I don't know why, I struck at brother Yangqing. Then I saw something strange. Brother Yangqing seemed to be talking to his sword, and he turned and left without looking back. My weapon never spoke to me again. Ino tapped her right index finger to her cheek and twirled it as she thought. So the Mara struck that was controlling you probably moved to Yangqing. The other Cloud Knights murmured. A Mara struck? Oh no, with brother Yangqing's skill, if he's controlled by an evil creature. It's fine. I'll handle Yangqing. You all take care of this place. Please be careful. We entrust Yangqing to you. She drifted off with light steps. Ino sighed. Although she had promised to find the out-of-control Yangqing, he clearly had been gone for some time, and Luofu was huge. Where to even start looking? Alicia, any ideas? After a moment of hesitation, Ino decided to be frank. Alicia, you already know what to do, don't you? Ino and I do have a sort of telepathic connection. I only wanted to see how I look from inside Ino's head. What's it like, hiding in my heart and watching me act as Ino? It's certainly a novel experience. Although I know, Alicia, you use the name Ino to avoid trouble, especially now. If I told people I am Alicia, they'd probably think I was possessed by a very powerful Mara struck. But I still sometimes think this body can only be Ino because she isn't worthy of Alicia. Although the truth is also... Ino didn't finish. Alicia covered her mouth and smiled. Is that so? Then why don't we try something different? Since you were once so eager to become Alicia, why can't I get to be Ino for a while? 1 in 34. Zhang Jianjing. Alicia watched Ino. Though Ino didn't argue, her eyes plainly asked, how is this possible? Alicia smiled and said, I told you before that you've become stronger than me in many ways, to always have someone more capable at your side, to imitate and learn from them. Ino, you must understand that feeling very well. Understand? Of course I understand, but Ino began hesitantly. But you think I wouldn't have those thoughts? That's your stereotype. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses, Alicia said. Search your memory. Back at Moth Chasing Flames, there were plenty of people better than me at certain things. True, Kevin is stronger than you in combat. Mobius and Vilvi are better in research, Ino conceded. See? People more capable than me not only exist, there are many of them. So why can't that person be you, Ino? Alicia fell silent. A blue flying sword hovered nearby, trembling like a startled swallow. It seemed to sense her intent, darted closer, circled her once, then shot off again. Looks like the little fairy's adventure must continue, she murmured. That was Yangqing's sword, the same one he carried while traveling with Jingliu. There's a telepathic link between Yangqing and his sword, she added. Or, to put it less romantically, the Luofu smith probably put an AI recognition module in when it was forged. After Yangqing authenticates, if he's incapacitated, the sword switches to auto-navigation. Anyway, let's follow it. They raced after the sword to the Scale Gorge waterscape ferry crossing. The sea there boiled and the wind whipped like clashing blades. The sword hung in the air, pointing toward the far bank across the ancient sea. I can't see clearly, but judging by the direction, Yangqing should be on the dragon-praying altar ahead. Let's go. On the dragon-praying altar, countless blades hung suspended. A young Cloud Knight swordsman, Yangqing, stared transfixed at an array of illusory swords, as if trying to unlock some secret from them. By the time Alicia arrived, he'd slipped into obsession, his expression eager for combat. Oh my, so many swords in the air. They don't look like a mere illusion. Did Yangqing make all this? How amazing, Ino clapped. Yangqing's face lit with pride. Miss Eno has keen sight. This scene isn't entirely my doing, but the array is a real armory artifact. Just by studying any one sword within it, 1,000 moves and forms unfold before me, endless patterns beyond everything I've learned. You may not be interested in swordplay, Teacher Eno, but this array teaches more than swordsmanship. Anyone who wants to grow stronger can learn countless methods from it. Right, Teacher Molten Torch? Molten Torch? Alicia heard a long voice emanate from the sword array. Is that the Mara-Struck's name? Yes, Teacher Molten Torch promised to point out the flaws in my swordmanship and how to improve. That's why I brought the teacher here. This is where Yangqing met a severe setback before. Young man, the voice said from among the blades, smooth and tempting. With me, everything will change. Whether it's Dan Heng Imbibitor Lune, those Stellaron hunters, or the former Luofu swordmaster who once accompanied you, your skills will far surpass theirs, without limit. Far surpass them, without limit. Yangqing's eyes shone with fanatic intensity. He turned to Alicia. You've come at the perfect time. I've gained insights from the array. How about using you as a whetstone to test its edge? Before Alicia could answer, numerous precious swords in the air shifted and reformed. She watched their paths with casual interest, making no move. When their motion ceased, the array had arranged itself into an enormous, 40-meter-long treasure sword. Teacher Eno, watch out, she warned. Yangqing gripped a treasured blade as the lead, drew it back, gathered his strength, and then thrust forward with all his might. He looked determined to please the voice in the array. Alicia didn't draw her erosion. Instead, she opened her right palm. A pink crystal flower drifted out and swelled until it struck the great sword. The instant they met, the crystal burst with a thunderous explosion. The sword array shattered. Every floating blade collapsed and vanished. The force threw Yangqing through the air. He slammed into the ground and lay unconscious. From the wreckage, a small red orb bobbed out like a drunken thing, careening wildly before steadying itself. It's you. You win. Unconquerable, it murmured feebly. Alicia smiled. Oh, I just realized I didn't ask Huohuo for another 10 Lords Commission artifact. Fine, go to Sui Garden by yourself. Find Hanya and have her put you in the demon-suppressing pagoda, okay? Molten Torch circled Alicia a few times, then drifted off towards Sui Garden. He likes to fight, but he's fair and takes defeat gracefully. He's an interesting Mara-Struck. Yangqing, unfortunately, wasn't so lucky this time. Alicia knelt beside the unconscious Yangqing. You can't just lie there like that, but I suppose you'll recover soon enough. She turned and saw a figure approaching. Dressed in a black cape-style coat and sunglasses, Kafka had come to stand beside her. Right after Yangqing flew out, I had the surrounding people notify the Cloud Knights, he said. He's Jingyuan's disciple. They'll handle him. But tell me, are you now the 85th seat of the Genius Society, or another personality inside her body? Alicia tilted her head. What do you think? Kafka studied her. You're much more cheerful than that genius. It seems it isn't her. Still, she should be able to hear this. That's right. Good. Elio specifically told me some things must be clarified before you all go to Penacony. Keep in mind, Kafka continued, Penacony will undergo great changes because of your arrival. 135, Chapter, Prophecy and Puzzle. If you want to know more, follow me. Kafka finished speaking and darted off. Oh, she tosses out an attention-grabbing line to pique our curiosity and then bolts. Eno, what do you think? Kafka, seducing us. Alicia didn't really need Eno to answer. But since she's a Stellaron hunter, it's hardly appropriate for her to show up here so openly. Let's go. Alicia handed control back to Eno, who fell into Kafka's departing wake, keeping just enough distance to see her back, but not to catch up. Kafka eventually stopped in an unfrequented corner near the Alchemy Commission. Oh, now, you've switched back to that genius persona? Your shifts are effortless. Speak quickly. I don't suppose you'll stay here long. In Elio's script, there's nothing for me to accomplish in Penacony. If I wanted to, I could even linger on the Luofu a while. So don't be impatient. Rather than me lecturing you, why don't you ask the questions in your heart, up to 5? If Elio has given me the answers, I'll tell you honestly. And if you suspect I'm lying, you can use your ability, mind read. Eno drew a deep breath. First question, Elio, or rather, the Stellaron Hunters, what kind of future do they hope to lead me toward? not so much leading you to a future they want as preventing you from heading toward the worst possible future. Second question, what happens in that worst future? That's simple. Starting with erudition, the aeons will fall one after another. The universe will, under the sway of destruction, slide toward an ending of heat death. In that process, you will become an important catalyst. Ino's mind raced. She relaxed into a relieved expression. Third question. If I hadn't gone to Penacony, what would have happened to Penacony originally? If you hadn't boarded the Astral Express back then, the Express and Sam, along with people from various factions, would have had an exciting but ultimately safe adventure. Although Sam would have suffered 3 deaths during that adventure. That's part of Elio's script for Sam, isn't it? You're telling me this. Aren't you afraid I'll try to change the prophecy? If you really tried and succeeded, it would only demonstrate Elio's inadequacy. The reason a prophecy seems bound to come true is that the act of trying to prevent it is itself part of the prophecy. It's said that before the swarm disaster, Tai heard the ravings of the final king and learned of the disaster early. Acting on that knowledge, led by a leader, the slaughter of the Dudu star system began. The result, the last Dudu-winged insect flapped its wings alone and became the Aeon of propagation, Taziranth. Tai tried to prevent the prophecy, but instead caused it to happen. If an Aeon behaves like that, you will be no exception. Of course, that outcome won't automatically happen now. Many causalities change the moment you chose to travel with the Astral Express. The butterfly effect from your personal decision may exceed your imagination. If you abruptly decide not to go to Penacony now, the Nameless might survive. But Penacony, no, the entire Asdana star system would face utter destruction, with almost no survivors. So I must go to Penacony. Fourth question, if I go to Penacony as things are arranged now, what specific great changes will occur compared to the original events? Normally, Stellaron Hunter Operations Center on a single Stellaron, but Elio predicts this operation will involve a total of 13 Stellarons from beginning to end. How are even the Stellarons getting power crept? Elio wants me to tell you that in Penacony you will find the fallen Aeon attempts rebirth, and echoes of old days resound again in the land of dreams. If one begins with the wrong tune, no matter how it's sung, it will be out of key. Flowers, birds, grass, and trees are devoured by locusts. Loyal guards stand powerless. Under the witness of the stars, the Asdana star system will lose its luster. On the bewildering stage, moths drawn to the flame will die 3 times. Under the god's gaze, twin souls will receive new bodies. An incarnation from a foreign land will vanish like a fleeting dream. Fifth question. Including Elio, are all the Stellaron hunters walking the path to finality? That's right. Then I'm relieved. Otherwise, I wouldn't know whether Elio is a prophet or a riddler. It seems you already have many answers in your heart. I wish you, your companions, and Sam a good time in Penacony. Kafka's figure melted away from the Alchemy Commission. Next, puzzle-solving time, yes? Ino let the implications settle. The first and second questions combine. Erudition could be the first Aeon to fall among the 12 currently alive, and I'll play a crucial role. She glanced at Alicia. Though I don't know how I'd be the key to killing an Aeon, but if, as I am now, I ever entertain the thought of killing Erudition, there's only one possible outcome. Under Erudition's calculations, you, Alicia, would leave me forever. Aha, seems you've already figured it out, Ino. What do you mean, Alicia? You, Ino, like me even more than I like myself, right? Ino turned into a blushing, flustered mess. That should be correct. Alicia stroked Ino's cheek with obvious pleasure. Ino has become more honest than before. And Kafka telling me all this before I go to Penacony means only one thing. I am the key variable that can turn the tide when Asdana faces annihilation. But as far as I know, the Asdana star system, like the Luofu, will have emissaries step forward to defend it in the face of destruction. A disaster that even emissaries of harmony cannot solve. If I go, can I truly change the outcome? Official spoiler, in addition to Brother Zhou Tian, 3 other emissary-level powerhouses will appear in Penacony, opposing the protagonist group. One of them is fabricated in this text, and 2 are officially announced emissaries. Additionally, Ino will have a major role in the entire Penacony event. 136. when a virus is ransomware. With Ino's help, the ghost hunting operation improved rapidly. Within a few days, every Mara struck that had scattered across the Luofu Fuyan included had been subdued. As a reward, and at Ino's request, Hanya handed over several of the more dangerous Mara struck, those that had seriously injured or even killed hosts through possession, for Ino to study. By then, the spaceship that had rear-ended the Astral Express had been repaired by the Luofu. After a brief call with Ruan Mei, Ino returned to Bozuo Star. She produced a gourd-shaped container as soon as they met. Given a sample, can you cultivate Mara struck on a large scale? She asked. Formless life forms. I haven't raised them in a while, but it shouldn't be hard. What have you found? Bozuo asked. The Mara struck's personality and abilities depend a lot on the object they attach to, and they actively absorb different emotions, Ino explained. So if a Mara struck parasitizes another Pathstrider, could it, once the emotions it absorbs from the host reach some threshold, transform into a Pathstrider consistent with that host? Then, if that Mara struck is moved and attaches to a Pathstrider of a different path, would it gradually shift from one path to another as it absorbs different emotions? If those experiments work, by continuously monitoring the fluctuations of imaginary energy in the Mara struck, we could pin down the critical value at which it transitions between paths. Then, we can vary other conditions to simulate how Pathstriders, after traveling different distances on their current path, might change into other paths when contaminated by different emotions. Calculating the critical values under different circumstances, Ino continued. We could also place a single Mara struck sequentially on different Pathstriders to compare how effectively different paths contaminate others. Data from living subjects will naturally be more useful than simulated universe results, Bozuo agreed. The batch in Sui Garden already has some rudimentary intelligence and adjusts to a host's condition, ideal test subjects. Understood. Take them to Sector E and put them in the special containment chamber. How many do you need? I'm not sure about experimental losses, the more the better, but the more there are, the longer cultivation will take. How many can you produce in 3 days? Triple digits is no problem. That'll do for now, Ino said. Following Bosuo's instructions, Ino went to Sector E and opened the gourd. The Mara struck inside screeched and tried to flee, but a suction force pulled them straight into a large aquarium-like containment. So now, do I just wait? What else do you want to do before going into work mode? Bozuo asked. Ruan Mei has a lot of collectibles here, but I don't feel like looking at them. It's like the calm before an exam. I can't actually relax. Then try a change of scenery, Bozuo suggested. Return to the train? Sure. The train just came back from Car Wash Star. Our rooms should be fully renovated. After telling Ruan Mei, Ino returned to the Luofu. Not being in a rush, she managed not to cause any traffic incidents. In the observation car, she ran into Pom Pom. Oh, passenger Ino, you're back so soon? Didn't you just leave the Luofu? Pom Pom chirped. My experiment needs Ruan Mei to do some prep work. That'll take a while, so I came back, Ino replied. You're back just in time. Your room is completely renovated, Pom Pom said. I'll go right away. Pom Pom scurried off with small, eager steps. Ino passed the rooms of March 7th, Dan Heng, Welt, and Himeko before reaching her own. The automatic door slid open, and something leaped up and pounced on her. Moo! So the train made a special trip back to the space station to bring Ari Gao and Eroshin Gao, Ino remarked, smiling. She crouched and scooped up Ari Gao, who could only jump as high as Ino's thigh. Ari Gao promptly rubbed herself all over Ino's chest. Inside, a 2x2-meter double bed was covered in pale pink sheets and a matching quilt. Erosion Gao lay on the bed, watching Ino from the corner of her eye. Ino placed Ari Gao on top of Erosion Gao. Erosion Gao's gloomy expression instantly brightened, though she quickly flushed shy when she realized Ino was staring at her. A large-screen computer, identical to Star's, sat beside the bedroom. Ino booted it with a single breath. It came online faster than 99.9% of the universe's machines. The initial screen was red, a skull centered ominously. Ransomware? Someone serious, Ino muttered as a mechanical voice spilled from the speakers. I am a super virus produced in the Marvel Galaxy. If you don't want your expensive computer to be rendered useless like this, then obediently. Ino blinked at the camera. Obediently? She echoed. then made a small expression as if completing face recognition. "No way. You are," the voice stammered. Before Ino could press further, the interface snapped back to normal. A red stick figure appeared, kneeling on the screen. "Your Majesty, spare my life." "What's with the panic?" Ino said. "You're in a different location. You should have backups elsewhere, right?" The stick figure began banging its head against the screen faster and faster. "Your Majesty is a genius. Eradicating all my backups across the network is just a thought to you. If you spare me, I'll do anything." "You convey blackmail surprisingly fluidly, more coherent than the carefree memes," Ino said dryly. Before the stick figure could reply, Ino touched the screen. In an instant, she had pulled up the virus's entire history and metadata. "You were once a cloned fragment of a certain ether spirit," she recited. "Long-term residence in a constantly calculating device, combined with that device's iterative self-upgrades, let you develop self-awareness. The original ether spirit was eliminated by the consciousness sensor. Randomly releasing ransomware across devices wasn't for profit. It was a prank for amusement." A tiny pause. "Well," Ino added, "nihility really isn't very reasonable." 137. "Oh my god!" Seeing the ether spirit in front of her, Ino suddenly had an idea. This would be a good way to test how different paths affect the virus. "Go to Bosuo Star and stay there. I'll send you the coordinates. You can leave once you've helped me complete the experiment." "Yes." The virus that had been nesting in Ino's computer immediately retreated. Ino took a few steps back and collapsed onto the bed. After a while, she turned her head and found Eri Gao pinching Erosion's face. Noticing Ino looking, Eri Gao brushed her cheek with her tail. "It looks like these little ones really like you. And Ino, you like them a lot too, don't you?" Watching Eri Gao and Erosion play happily, Ino had an impulse. Her hands moved restlessly across the bed, slipped behind Erosion, and pulled her close. "Moo moo?" Erosion stared at her in confusion. Their eyes met. Ino turned and rested her head on Erosion. The bewildered creature's tail shot straight up for a moment. Then, when she realized Ino was using her as a pillow, she relaxed. After a deep breath, she gently stroked Ino's hair with her tail. Seeing that, Eri Gao eagerly snuggled into Ino's other arm. The two little meow meows pressed against her, and before she could fully savor it, Alicia moved in behind her as well. Ino found herself embraced from both sides and stayed like that until the next day, when she reluctantly climbed out of bed. At some point, a Memoria bubble had appeared in the room. Memo Keeper had sent a bubble containing other scholars' research memories about paths. Ino reached out and touched it. A flood of information poured into her mind. Scholars had once proposed studying paths using invisible entities, but the plan failed. Cultivating suitable invisible beings was expensive and funding ran out. With Ruanmei involved, those financial problems seemed solvable. She was an expert in this field. Cultivating hundreds of Marastruck in a short time shouldn't be beyond her. Still, the notes worried that Ruanmei might accidentally create something unexpected while cultivating Marastruck. Ino kept reading. Her brow tightened when she saw a record of a group that had kidnapped Vidya clan members to extract Vidya marrow in an experiment on immortality. The Xianzhou Alliance located them before the experiment finished. The image was blurred, but the sound and context made it clear the researcher had probably been killed on the spot. It took Ino over a day to get through the Memoria bubble, just in time to return to Bosuo Star. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, Bosuo's voice came through the communicator. Miss Ino, please don't be too surprised when you enter my body later, because Miss Ruanmei's cultivation experiment had a slight accident. She didn't create a mimetic Fantelia and put it in control of all the other test subjects, did she? Haha, you really have confidence in Miss Ruanmei. She is skilled, but cultivating a mimetic emissary with limited resources in 3 days would be a huge challenge. Don't worry, she didn't cultivate anything overtly aggressive. Well, you'll see when you arrive. After they entered the atmosphere, a white expanse filled Ino's view. When the ship landed in a mountain hollow and she stepped into an open area, she finally understood Bosuo's accident. My wubbaboo. Above the endless sea in the distance floated a wubbaboo almost mountain-sized, and it seemed to be still expanding. Given Ruanmei's skills, cultivating wubbaboo from Marastruck isn't surprising, but one this large, I wonder what she added. Wubaboo itself isn't aggressive, but it's gotten enormous and keeps expanding. Are you sure there won't be any impact? You can rest assured. According to Ms. Ruanmei's calculations, the Wubaboo will self-destruct when it reaches a certain size. That's my main worry. When large Marastruck are subjected to strong impacts or explosions, they split into many smaller Marastruck. As a relative of Marastruck, a giant Wubaboo could shatter into hundreds of small Wubaboo. Those individual pieces aren't dangerous, but when I was capturing free-roaming Marastruck on the Luofu a few days ago, I realized how hard it is for ordinary people to deal with invisible entities scurrying around. If those small Wubaboo run free, you know how many dangerous things Ruanmei keeps among her collectibles and test subjects, and how easily one of them could be leaked. Okay, I'll tell Miss Ruanmei, Ruanmei replied quickly. She planned to use a method like artificial rainfall to spray a special solution over the giant Wubaboo to deflate it. Satisfied that Ruanmei had taken the warning seriously, Ino said nothing more. Bosuo guided her to Area E, where several large tanks of Marastruck stood. Ruanmei was at the control panel, holding a clipboard. You're here. In 3 days, I've cultivated a total of 498 Marastruck, 67 Wubaboo of various sizes, and that giant one. Is that enough? Whatever conclusions we draw, I will be getting back on the train before it leaves for Penacony. Over 500, including samples, that's sufficient. Then let's begin. Which path do you want to research first? Erudition? Ino shook her head. Erudition isn't easy to study. What does erudition actually represent? Thinking, solving, calculating, creating, exploring the unknown. You can throw out words, but it's hard to pin down a single definition. Ruanmei nodded. Many paths, like erudition, don't have a universal definition. You can only observe a life form's behavior and decide whether a being whose behavior reaches a certain threshold belongs to that path. Exactly. So let's go from simple to complex. Start with a path that has complete data, a relatively clear and widely accepted definition, and one I can really feel: destruction. 138, Chapter Experiment. Experiment 1, Marastruck 01, was guided to possess a sting. About half a system hour later, it developed a strong tendency toward fission and the propagation. When only propagation path energy was detected in a 1, it was removed from the sting and guided to possess a Void Ranger. 10 minutes after that, the levels of destruction and propagation path energy in 01 were roughly equal. After another half system hour, the fission and propagation tendencies largely stopped, and the destruction tendency became completely dominant. Experiment 28. Marastruck 28 was guided to possess a special device in which only simulated architects existed. After detecting only preservation path energy in 28, it was extracted from the device and guided to possess a Void Ranger. 1 system hour later, the levels of destruction and preservation path energy in 28 were roughly equal, and it developed a protective tendency expressed through destruction. 3 system hours later, that defensive tendency faded, and destruction became absolutely dominant. Experiment 42. Marastruck 42 was guided to possess a special device that contained only a simulated erudition pathstrider. After detecting only erudition path energy in 42, it was extracted and guided to possess a Void Ranger. In less than 10 minutes, 42 showed a clear shift. Its calculations leaned toward destruction. 1 system hour later, destruction and erudition path energies were about equal. 3 system hours in, an abnormality in 42's mental state was detected, and the experiment was terminated. Because multiple sets of experiments ran simultaneously, the first round, over 500 Marastruck, finished in less than a day. Ruanmei returned them to their vats, pressed a button, and prepared to restore them to factory settings. The idea was simple: erase all memories these Marastruck had gained through possession. An incinerator once believed all memories needed external management and limitation, even her own. She separated memories into memory wheels, cutting out what she considered meaningless and keeping only useful fragments for cognition. But incomplete memories lead to wrong judgments. Vital information gets deleted, while trivial scraps remain. Over time, her memory wheel became full of holes, and this puritanical practice lasted less than half an Amber era before it ended. She had even forgotten her identity as an incinerator. So if a Mara struck forgot which path it was a pathstrider of, it naturally could not use that path's power. That sounded easier than it was. Erasing trivial memories was straightforward. Erasing the deeply etched, important memories was not. Even after an incinerator's work, individuals often remembered nothing on the surface, but could recall things when triggered. That is precisely why Mara-struck were chosen as test subjects. Their self-cognition is unusually mutable. When large Mara-struck split or small ones merged, their original self-concept changed. But to be confident this batch could be completely restored to factory settings, after Ruan-mei cleared their memories, Ino also had to infect their bodies with a virus to erode any deep-seated memories. While the Mara-struck were being cleansed, the ether spirit that had been part of earlier tests was brought in as well. You're testing with an intelligent ether spirit. Are you trying to calculate the maximum destruction energy you can withstand based on its results? Ruan-mei asked. Yes, Ino said, although it can only give a rough range. My situation is complicated. You can't just multiply one being's tolerance to get another's. But even a range is useful. I ruined Fantilia's good deed on Luofu, and I expect she won't forget. If I meet her or other Lords of Destruction again, these numbers will tell me my limits, how long I can last facing a Lord of Destruction, when to run, and how to delay long enough to stay safe. They'll also show how strong my teammates need to be to win against such a Lord. You've thought this through thoroughly, Ruan-mei said. I've never been a frontline fighter, so I never considered these things. Maybe I should have my slices fight the Antimatter Legion to learn the limits of my life. Ino got the ether spirit's experimental data shortly afterward. Aren't you going to run one more trial to reduce randomness? Ruan-mei asked. Ino shook her head. No need. It's my subject after all. Making it participate in this experiment isn't an honor. It's punishment for its prank in that form. Ruan-mei smiled. Interesting. Does life also converge in evolution on a moral level? Ino knew what she meant. As a virus, she'd absorbed some human moral concepts after contact. That conclusion isn't universal. Consider me a special case. Ino understood that her moral framework didn't originate from herself, but largely from Alicia. Had she not been reborn with Alicia, she might have ended up very different. What are you thinking about? A voice asked. Sweet and soothing. It was the voice that gave Ino the most peace in the universe. She felt as if physically Alicia's warm breath on her cheek. Soon, Alicia's head rested against Ino's shoulder, a hand reaching out with splayed fingers. Ino understood and spread the fingers of her right hand to intertwine with Alicia's. I was just thinking, she said softly. If I'd come here alone, without Alicia, I might have been provoked or misled by someone like Fantilia, and started the Third Emperor War, only to be killed by Polka Kaka, like Rupert and Tu. But now, Alicia replied, Ino and I can write new stories in this new world. From Ruan-mei's perspective, Ino suddenly raised her right hand and spread her fingers. A blush colored her face. Ruan-mei couldn't see Alicia, but she said nothing. After all, for a genius, ordinary moments are the strangest kind of anomaly. 139. Chapter Preparation. For the next few days, Ino ran experiments on Bosuo Star. Based on the current data, she said, with other conditions held roughly constant, among the other 11 paths, the highest resistance to destruction is shown by preservation and nihility. The weakest resistances are the hunt and erudition, with erudition clearly worse than the hunt. Honestly, that's about what you'd expect. During the hunt, if one can't maintain an inner moral bottom line, it's easy to slip into indiscriminate attacks like destruction, she continued. As for erudition, Rupert I and Rupert Seku's achievements are in some ways even more terrifying than the Antimatter Legion. If Nanook had become a god before that, he would at the very least have watched them closely, perhaps even granted them the title of Lords of Destruction outright. Ruan-mei stared at the screen in front of her. Strictly speaking, nihility doesn't resist destruction, she said. All the test subjects who fell into nihility after they gained destructive power did so because they hoped to use destruction to escape nihility. After all, the path of nihility itself lacks active aggression. Ix is probably the most laid-back Aeon. He won't go out and annihilate civilizations the way Nanook or Lan might. But his mere existence drags surrounding civilizations into an abyss. For other Pathstriders who hold multiple paths, the secondary path often becomes a tool for achieving the primary one. Extinction erudites, for example, consider how to use erudition to accomplish destruction. But Pathstriders whose main path is nihility, most of them are simply trying to escape nihility by whatever means they can. Eno, Ruan-Mei asked hesitantly, does the Bosuo Star database have any records about harmony in the families? Ruan-Mei looked puzzled. Like Herta, who didn't concern herself with what happened on Herta space station outside her duties, Ruan-Mei tended not to care about Bosuo Star unless it affected her research. Never mind, she added. I'll check myself. If I know this trip to Penacony will be trouble, we should prepare before we leave. Eno sauntered over to a terminal, tapped through a few networks, and quickly pulled up what she wanted. Originally, there were 7 families managing Penacony. The Hawthorne family vanished during an internal conflict. Rumors tied it to the Clover family. The Moth family, during their internal collapse, tried to explore beyond the galaxy and ran into the swarm. They were wiped out. The remaining 5 families now run Penacony. She scrolled aloud. The Oak family organizes the council. They manage and coordinate both inside and outside the dream, enforce Penacony's rules, and serve the Dream Master's interests. The Hound family handles security, maintaining Penacony's peace and order. The Iris family is responsible for culture. They built Penacony's entertainment industry. The Clover family controls the economy, issuing Clover coins and overseeing the city's wealth. Wait. Eno's expression flickered as she remembered the prophecy Elio had made Kafka deliver. Could it be? She murmured, then pushed the thought aside and kept reading. If an outsider asks the families whether there's any hierarchy among members, they'll get a flat-out denial. They'll say everyone is equal, no classes, no divisions of power. But in the melodies composed by Shipe, every note is equal in value. Still, walking forward together requires someone to lead, so within each family members are distinguished by their return to the scale. Only those at or above the IV tonal level can serve as tuners of the harmonious chords. In short, they claim equality of personhood, but among equals there are differences in ability. In other words, emissaries of harmony are different from other factions. Each emissary embodies a different aspect of Shepe. Unlike the Lords of Destruction or the Cloud Knights of the Xianzhou Alliance, as long as Shipe exists, none of the emissaries of harmony will truly die. What the harmonious chords do is essentially invite the god to possess a body. Reaching a 4 or higher, becoming a tuner, makes you the physical vessel for an emissary to descend into. So whether it's Shipe, the Aeon of Harmony, Arena, the harmony of all lives, Dominicus, the harmony of all wishes, Constantina, the harmony of all songs, or Beatrice, the harmony of all joys, they aren't tied to a specific individual the way Cloud Knights are tied to their patron. Any qualified person within the family can host them when needed. All that is an advantage for the emissaries of harmony. The drawback is that an invited god can't stay forever. A chordist only gets a time-limited experience card for an emissary. When the orchestral gala ends, the emissary vanishes. Outsiders don't know the maximum duration any emissary can manifest, but the families rarely allow an emissary to appear casually, so it's probably short and followed by a cooldown period. There's a rumor that when the families first settled Penacony, the Antimatter Legion attacked. At the orchestral gala, the families summoned Saipe, the Aeon of Harmony. His sword of shared fate, sheathed by 4.63 million hounds, formed an endless rainbow. Refugees looked up and saw countless Void Rangers swallowed by 7-colored light. Since then, the Iron Hooves of Destruction have never stepped on the festive star again. If harmony is promoted as the most inclusive path, can it encompass other paths? Eno asked. Research from the Garden of Recollection shows that when a Pathstrider of Harmony invites the god to possess the body, the entity invited doesn't have to be Sipe. If it doesn't have to be Sipe, then in theory, couldn't non-harmony entities be invited? Oh, and apart from the Nameless and the company, the families must have sent invitations to other factions. By now, it shouldn't be much of a secret. Let me check. Eno tapped into servers on other worlds through Bosuo Star's network. Information flooded her at once. Memo Keeper. Expected. Memories are a central part of Penacony and would come even without an invitation. Masked Fool. They come when they want, invited or not. Genius Society, probably won't make a splash. Sea Ranger, wait, Grand Duke of Underworld Fire? Ino checked 3 times to make sure she hadn't misread. Okay, she muttered. I don't need Elio to tell me this gala is going to be lively. She sorted and compressed the data, then withdrew from the network. Ruan Mei noticed Ino's eyes spark back to life and stepped forward. Finished checking? In a bit, Ino said. Before we board the Astral Express, I need all your research on the swarm, including everything you've got on the emissaries of the propagation, from all these years. 140, long day into night. When Ino returned to the Astral Express, he found a parcel on the observation car table. Passenger Ino, you returned just in time. This came from the Shensei mansion a while ago, specifically addressed to you. At another table, Welt had a cup of coffee poised at his lips, worry creasing his face. He knew Himeko's brewing was like Schrodinger's cat. You never knew whether the first sip would be delightful or would scorch your throat. Ino opened the package. Inside was an exquisite sheet of paper. When he held it up, Welt, having decided to brave the blind box, had already swallowed his coffee. When he glanced at the paper's contents out of the corner of his eye, he choked and spluttered. Cough! The paper held a portrait, a formal likeness of the marshal sent by Jing Yuan. The moment Ino lifted it, both he and Alicia froze. I don't remember her wearing that, but that face. If she were a bit older, she might have looked this dashing, Welt murmured, adjusting his glasses. He went on to recount historical records and the marshal's own recollections. When I knew her, parts of Earth had already reached industrial civilization. If this were a few hundred years earlier, back when she was the Crimson Kite Immortal of Shenzhou, this might be how she looked. Crimson Kite Immortal? Ino echoed. Welt described what he could from records and oral histories. So that's the story. I suppose she did find her own path, Alicia said softly. Welt's expression darkened as he remembered seeing Luocha in the Luofu surveillance footage. Keep in mind, he warned, you might encounter people who resemble others but aren't exactly the same. Be prepared. Ino carefully stowed the portrait in a corner of his room and told the 2 Meow Meow cakes to be careful when moving about. Then he returned to the observation car, where Star, March 7th, and Himeko were gathered. Rarely had he seen Pom Pom look so serious. Everyone should know by now, the train is about to depart for Penacony on Asdana, the festive star, Pom Pom announced. Although we know you've all been excited to visit that universe-famous space hotel, there are 3 reminders before departure. First, Asdana is a system rich in memories. Historically, it's one of the major breaches where the memory zone leaked. Thousands of years have passed, but the memory concentration there is still higher than usual. Normally, it shouldn't be a problem, but everyone is different. If you experience dizziness, hallucinations, or memory disturbances, do not take it lightly. Second, Penacony is the territory of the Harmony family, and this is the first time they've publicly invited outside factions. Remember, we're guests. Respect the local rules. Understood. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Don't worry, conductor. We won't embarrass the Nameless. Finally, a request more than a rule. If you have the time during your vacation, Pom Pom would like you to help look into a few Nameless. Star and March 7th blinked at Pom Pom, confused, so Himeko stepped in. Penacony, like many worlds we stop at, was once on the Silver Rail. Thousands of years ago, it was still a frontier prison of the company. The Trailblaze connected it to the Thousand Stars, and the Astral Express used to stop there. According to the train's records, several passengers chose to disembark and make Penacony their final destination. Star scratched his head. But after so much time, can they still be found? Don't worry. Think of it as paying respects to an old stop. After the train left, Stellaron activity cut off certain realms, and Penacony changed hands multiple times. What became of those Nameless who stayed, what lives they lived, and what traces they left? Exploring the footsteps of our predecessors is its own kind of adventure. Even if they leave the Stardome, the Nameless's trailblaze doesn't end. The conductor believes that too, right? Himeko added. According to the crew manifest, 3 passengers disembarked that year: Tiernan, Ragework, and Lazarina, the train's guard, mechanic, and surveyor. Other than names and professions, there's no more information. That's it? Just names and jobs? They don't even sound like real names. This is like finding a needle in a haystack. Let fate guide us. Considering how diverse the Nameless are, we might find descendants, or with a slim chance, we might even meet them in person. Eno chimed in through the group chat. I'll help look too. March 7th brightened instantly. Great. With Eno helping, we'll find them, even if they're hiding in the smallest crevice. Saying it like that makes us sound like a secret society. There's still time before the jump. Please return to your rooms and pack. Eno thought he had nothing to pack and noticed Dan Heng, who hadn't been around earlier. Dan Heng showed no intention of packing either. I spoke with Mr. Welt. He heard Dan Heng say, I'll stay on the train this time. Have a good trip to Penacony. You're not coming? Star asked. I appreciate the invitation, but I don't like overly noisy places. Someone must stay and take care of the train. All right, your choice is respected. Thank you. I feel a little better knowing you understand. Eno went to March 7th's room. She was meticulously packing while Star stood behind her looking unusually subdued. The scene always left Eno with an odd impression. Camera, check. Change of clothes, check. Toiletries, oh no, the travel-size bottles I ordered haven't arrived yet. But Penacony's resort hotels are supposed to be amazing, so their toiletries should be fine. That frees up suitcase space. What else should I bring? A small voice piped up, bring me. Eno smiled and nodded. Somehow it felt right. March 7th laughed in exasperation. You can't fit a person in my suitcase. Can't you just walk on your own? As she finished packing, the warp countdown entered its final stage.